Charlotte Tilbury launched the beautiful Queen of Luck palette, and what I want to do for this video is do a comparison with the Celestial Pearl palette. The Celestial Pearl palette was a limited edition palette that came out 2 years ago, also for New Year's. Its now brother is also a limited edition palette, and in the description it does say it came out for the Year of the Dragon. Now before we do the demo, I want to get into some of the details first. This cost me 53 euros, so 3 euros more than when I started to buy these palettes. Back in the day when you bought these palettes, they used to come with a matte or two, maybe a metallic or two, and a pop shade. Later on, in different variations, the mattes became a little different. The super pop was introduced, and the Hollywood flawless eye filters were also introduced. 2 years ago, the first duochrome shade in the flawless eye filter was introduced in the Celestial Pearl palette. So a lot of you guys wanted to see the comparisons of these two. This should be 4 unique shades, at least that's what I read about it, but we will see. I did some comparison swatches as well between the two palettes, and here you can see that, for example, that the prime shade, there's going to be the biggest difference there. The prime shade in the Celestial Pearl palette is pink, whereas the prime shade in the Queen of Luck palette is going to be a champagne white toned leaning color. The color that is the most similar is going to be the enhanced shade. Both of these are the flawless eye filter formulation. Both of them are duochrome with a pink to golden flip. I think the one from the Queen of Luck palette is a little bit more pigmented, but that could also be because the Celestial Pearl palette is already 2 years old. So that could be a contributing factor why that one doesn't look the same. Then you have another big difference between the smoke shade. The smoke shade from the Celestial Pearl palette is a metallic, whereas the smoke shade from the Queen of Luck palette is going to be a matte. A matte, I think, is a great idea because there are no mattes in the Celestial Pearl palette, making it more of a festive palette and less of an everyday palette. Introducing a matte, I thought, was a very smart thing to do. Then finally, you have the infamous pop shade, and I think the difference here is that the color from the Celestial Pearl palette, the pop shade, is going to be more champagne toned with maybe some silver flecks, whereas the pop shade from the Queen of Luck palette seems to be more golden. Another big difference is the pop shade from the Celestial Pearl palette actually provides more pop, so it is much more poppin'. I'm sorry. Now I have already put it on the eyes. The swatches I have done in maybe better lighting. Unfortunately, the sun is not out today. It's only 2:30, but it's already really dark, and this is natural lighting only. So I'm hoping that the demo you'll see a little bit better lighting. And in case you're new here, my name is Sonia. I love reviewing luxury beauty. I have a Charlotte Tilbury playlist, so if you do want to see my review of the Celestial Pearl palette, remember filming that video, and my son will be lying right next to me in his crib, and I have such good memories on the Celestial Pearl palette. The Celestial Pearl palette is one of my favorite palettes, not because it holds only sentimental values, but also because it was such a beautiful festive eye without being too, crazy. So I have really high hopes for the Queen of Luck palette. I hope the demo shows how or how not different they are from each other. So subscribe to my channel if you do want to see more Charlotte Tilbury, and let's get into the demo. So let's start with the Celestial Pearl palette first, and I'm going to go in with the smoke shade. So Charlotte Tilbury typically wants you to follow the prime, enhance, smoke, and pop rotation, but I'm going to start with the smoke shade and smoke out the outer corner. Now I'm working with natural lighting only, guys, so if the lighting changes throughout this video, that's because natural lighting can be quite fickle, especially in the winter time. Even though the smoke shade in this palette is a metallic shade, it gives you enough depth, and it does look very flattering on the eyes. So for the Queen of Luck palette, you follow the same rules. It's gonna be the prime shade, the enhanced shade, the smoke shade, and the pop. I'm gonna start with the smoke shade. Now this is gonna give you a very similar color, so it's a very similar tone, but it is a matte, which I find a little bit more everyday friendly. Because the matte is the deepest color, it's nice to kind of shape the eye where you want it. And you can already tell that the matte blends out beautifully. There's way more blend on the matte on this side. Let's build up the pigment a little bit so they're a little bit more equal. And I would say that this matte in here is more terracotta, a little bit more warm toned than the Celestial Pearl smoke shade. And this is the difference between the smoke shades. This is the Celestial Pearl palette, and on the other side we have the Queen of Luck palette. Going back for Celestial Pearl, I want to go in with the prime shade. I'm going to put this around the inner corners of my eye, kind of show you guys what this looks like. This was a beautiful prime shade, a little bit too pink for everyday in my opinion, and it could be quite deep for some of you, making it a dark cast and not necessarily a great shade to put in the inner corners of your eye. Now this leans incredibly pink, and I hope you guys can see that as well, but it's a beautiful shade. Let me build it up just a little bit. Now the prime shade in the Queen of Luck palette is a much more white, champagne toned, so much more of a traditional inner corner highlight. And I would also say, because of that, it will be more universally friendly because you're not messing around with a pink. Also, for paler skin tones, this one isn't going to leave a dark cast like the other one. Very stunning. You see, there's already a huge difference between the two. Now I want to go in with the duochromes. The duochromes, I feel from the swatches, are quite similar. I have a feeling they're not that different. They have the same flip. I'm going to go in with the duochrome enhanced shade from the Celestial Pearl palette and putting it on my eye. Kind of lathering it over the other two shades that I just put on, blending them in. I like to apply this formulation with my fingers. I just think it gives the most opacity, but you can always blend it out again with your brush if you want to have a more seamless finish. This is a beautiful shade. I wish that the camera did a better job in showing you that flip. Then on the other side, let's go in with the enhanced shade from the Queen of Luck palette. Now lastly, I want to go in with the pop shade. Let's go in with the pop shade from the Celestial Pearl palette. Pop is going to give you what it's supposed to do. It's going to give you a pop. Now in natural lighting, this might not look very impressive, but this in synthetic lighting, so for a party for instance, look how stunning these pop shades are. Now of course for the other side, we have to apply the pop shade from the Queen of Luck palette as well. The pop shade in this is going to be less silvery and it's going to be more gold. I'm guessing it is going to give a different effect. Let's go in with synthetic lighting again. A more refined shimmer, if you ask me, than the pop shade from the Celestial Pearl palette. So let me finish up the eyes with a little bit of eyeliner and mascara, and let me get back to you. That is it, guys. This is the final look. So let me get into some of the differences that you see on the eyes. I think on camera, the differences are quite minute, and in real life even, they give a very similar eye. But there is a difference, especially when you come in closer. I tried to take some photos of my eyes so you can see it better, because the main difference, Queen of Luck palette is gonna pull more golden, more warm tones, more terracotta, so better for every single day. It does still have the duochrome shift, but it's less pronounced and in your face. Also, the inner corner highlight is much more prominent in the Queen of Luck palette than in the Celestial Pearl palette. What the Celestial Pearl palette has is, of course, because it doesn't have a matte, it's a very decorative eye. It has a little bit more flip, so because of the prime shade being a pink, you're gonna see a little bit more of that pink versus gold aspect, and the pop shade pops a little bit more, so you're gonna have a festive eye. It's like the eyes are sort of sisters, and one sister is a little bit more fairy-like and decorative, maybe in for a party, and the other sister is a little bit more neutral toned, maybe more for everyday wear. The eyeliner that I used for both sides is the Burnt Umber Lisa Eldridge eyeliner, and I think it looks beautiful in the end. If you have the Celestial Pearl palette, I'm not sure if you need the Queen of Luck palette. I don't know if there's that much difference other than one is a bit more golden and everyday, because they give a very similar eye look. Although there are differences, I think it's up to you to decide if these small nuances between these two are worth spending another $55 on, or 53 euros if you're from Europe. Because the Celestial Pearl palette is one of my favorites, it's hard not to like the Queen of Luck palette, and it's hard not to like a palette that also contains a good matte and a good prime shade where you can really do some inner corner highlighting with. Whereas the prime shade from the Celestial Pearl Palette, the inner corner highlight was so pink that it's not really the inner corner highlight for me. But it's hard for me as someone that reviews makeup to recommend you buying this palette if you have the Celestial Pearl Palette, because the looks are so similar. Anyway guys, this is a quick and short review on a Charlotte Tilbury palette. It's been a while since she launched one of these quads. I didn't think she was gonna come out with any more quads. I thought maybe she was phasing them out. So I'm happy to see it. If you are thinking about picking it up, I did put my affiliate down below. Also, let me know in the comment section down below if you see a difference between these two palettes. And if you aren't subscribed yet to my channel and you want to dive in some of the rabbit holes that I like to dive into, like Charlotte Tilbury, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and have a beautiful, happy, and healthy new year. Bye!